Tales of Amestralia, The War of the Madosian Peninsula. Tyarzo Viazborsk, Part 2. After returning to Pevitska, Tyarzo began to have nightmares about the battles and deaths that occurred during the war. He saw the faces of children crying and asking for mercy, while he just watched his superiors and companions cutting off their heads one after another and hanging them on poles and stakes. In 3320, Tyarzo decided he no longer wanted to stay in Pevitska and decided to leave the city. As the sea reminded him too much of his adventures with the navy, he then decided to travel by land. It was then that he headed towards the marshy coast, east of Pevitska, and began writing his diary. Over the course of 2 long years, Tyarzo wandered the Madosian Peninsula and passed through several cities. He passed through Sonta, Klak, Kelma, Tushing, Pramiga, Lojak and Alamergas, as well as small villages and some ruins. His trip was slow, and he spent a lot of time reflecting on everything he did. Tyarzo says that he worked for 4 months in Pramiga as a loader at the port, and that he spent time in a small village in the Gulf of Nobla, where he earned a living by fishing, something that was easy to do due to his ability to control the water. Tyarzo eventually went on a trip to the Madosian savannah to see for the first time the legendary worldland he constantly heard about. While wandering through the eastern region, near the coast, Tyarzo was ambushed by 8 members of the Jura tribe who were on horseback and armed with spears and bows. They demanded that the wanderer give them his belongings, but Tyarzo decided to fight and defeated the 8 members of the tribe, but did not kill them, thus proving that he did not want problems, but that he would not allow himself to be robbed. 6 of the Jura tribe members ran, but remained bowed on the ground in surrender. Tyarzo, who was able to communicate a little with them, talked to the members of the tribe who ended up befriending him. Tyarzo would eventually discover that their names were Juano and Parvo. After making friends with Juano and Parvo, Tyarzo ordered them to take him to meet the rest of the tribe. Tyarzo was not well received, but over the course of a few days, he ended up winning the favor of the people of Jura, so much so that he went hunting with them and learned to speak their dialect and even learned about their origin, writing it down in his diary. In one of the night hunts, Tyarzo got lost, and the next day he was surrounded by members of the Nuran tribe. And just as happened with the Jura, the Nuran were defeated, but Tyarzo did not kill them. Tyarzo asked to be shown the direction to the Jura camp, and so he managed to find his way back to the land of his friends. After a year living in the savannas, Tyarzo wondered whether to leave, whether to go north or return to Pevitska. But before he found an answer to his question, Tyarzo discovered that Parvo had been kidnapped by the Sijkin, so he joined the rest of the tribe in searching for his friend. This search led him to conflict with the Sijkin, and for the first time in 4 years, Tyarzo killed a person. Parvo was rescued, but from this point on, the Sijkin and Jura began to conflict. One day a caravan was passing through the Jura region, and the members, as usual, went ahead to loot, but as Tyarzo didn't like that practice, he decided to make an agreement with the caravan. They were supposed to provide some merchandise, and he, with some members of the Jura, would take them in the direction of Singh Shanti. The leader of the caravan agreed, and on the same day, the tribe got a large quantity of fruits, spices and colorful fabrics to decorate their homes. Tyarzo and 20 other members of the tribe escorted the caravan. On the 3rd day of the journey, the caravan is ambushed by several members of the Nuran tribe. One of the members recognizes Tyarzo and confronts him. After being taken from his horse, this same Nuran warrior orders the other members to attack, and the conflict begins. In the end, the Nuran lose and half of them end up dead. Many fled, and 3 who were injured were then arrested by Tyarzo and tied by ropes to their horses. One of these 3 was a woman named Foka Sintoka. She was personally tied to Tyarzo's horse and walked tied for a few days until they reached the border with the Vashan territory, where the caravan went ahead and alone. Since if the Jura crossed the border, the Vashan would react as if they were suffering an invasion. The group then returned and spent a few more days riding back to the Jura camp. Along the way, Tyarzo gave to Foka water and food to drink, but in order for her to eat, she had to talk to him first. Over time, the two began to have a small friendship. Halfway there, the group was ambushed by a group of Sijkin, and the Sijkin were defeated with the Jura and Nuren fighting together, as they had to be released so they could fight. The trio of Naranian prisoners escaped to the savannah after killing the Sijkin and stealing their horses. A month after the trip, the Sijkin invaded the Jura camp at night with more than 6,000 warriors, thus killing many members of the tribe. The Jura had to retreat south, which eventually made them go to the lands of the Nuren tribe, fearing that the Nuren would think that the Jura were invading their lands. Tyarzo went ahead to the Nuren camp and asked to speak to the leader of the tribe. Near the camp, he, together with Juano and Pavo, were surrounded. But one of the Nuren warriors recognized Tyarzo from the trip to sing shanty. Using this to his advantage, Tyarzo managed to convince the warrior he spared, who he would eventually discover was called Alenzo Jukau, to take him to the Nuren tribe camp. Upon arrival, he saw Foka, and they talked briefly. Eventually, he was taken to the tent of the Rishan, the title of the leader of the Nuren, and met the one who commanded the tribe. This was Tukasintoka, older sister of Foka. Tyarzo told about the event with the Sijkin, and asked the Nuren to grant some land for the Jura to live for some time. And Tukasintoka discussed with Tyarzo about the risks of allowing this, but with the help of Foka and Tyarzo's great insistence, the Rishan agreed to grant some land. Subscribe and comment.